What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano. Today we're going to be going over a great warm-up / left hand exercise for you to help you develop your left hand and also just to get you warmed up in general before you start to practice. So a couple things to note here just out the gate. What I find in a lot of people is that their right hand is much more in control than their left. Their right hand is much more coordinated. I think a lot of the times is because as piano players early on, a lot of people tend to focus on the right hand more because that's where the melody usually comes from, right up here in the right hand. And their left hand often gets kind of neglected. They don't know what to do with their left hand, and their left hand ultimately is not coordinated enough to keep up with what they want to do. This is even true, I find, when it comes to people who are left-handed. You would think that people who are left-handed, their left hand might be better than their right hand. But even in those people who are left-handed, it seems like their right hand is still more coordinated. And I think the reason for that is just because the world is set up against left-handed people. So if you're left-hand, then tough luck. You kind of have to go around it anyway. You think of like stick shift, driving a car, that's for the right-handed people, or basically everything. Everything is set up and designed for people who are right-handed, and left-handed people kind of have to adapt, so they end up using their right hand even more. So that's kind of off topic, but just to kind of get into the video today, again, this is going to help you with your left hand, your coordination. It's going to help you get warmed up before you start to practicing. So I'm going to be showing you 3 different levels that you can use. Depending on what skill level you're at currently, you can kind of control the exercises based off where you are at currently. So with the left hand, we're going to be starting out. Here's your middle C. We'll start off with the pinky on the C below, and we're going to play the C, a G, and then a C octave. Right? So if we think of our C major chord, we have C, E, and G. Is C major, so we're going to be playing the C. We're going to be playing the 5th of the chord, and then we're going to be playing just the root of the chord again up top. And it sounds nice. It's not as condensed or as closed as just a regular triad. We're kind of opening up that chord a little bit, right? So it already sounds a little bit better versus just playing this. And what we're going to do is we're going to just rock back and forth, just like this. That's going to be our left hand pattern for the first 2, and then we'll switch it up on the 3rd one. A couple more things to note here. When you're doing this left hand pattern, you don't want to just keep your hand still like this. Notice how when I do it this way, my hand is very still and my fingers are doing all of the work. Right? There's basically no movement in my forearm, there's no movement in my shoulders up here or anything like that. That's the wrong way to do this because it's going to cause a lot of tension in your hand. Your hand is going to be very stiff, kind of like this, trying to play these notes, and that's not what you want. You want to shake it up, make sure your hand and your arm is completely loose. And one way to do that and to take the load off of your fingers is to kind of rock back and forth. So notice how I'm rocking with the forearm. I'm coming in as I play this note, I go back out, and then I come right back in. Right? And just kind of feel your hand, make sure it's loose. Another thing you can do is once you play these notes, just kind of move your hand up and down to the side like this, just to make sure that you're actually loose. Because even if you think you're loose sometimes, if you try to move your hand or your arm, you might find that you're really tensed up like that. So that's one note. Another note here is I'm going to be using the pedal. So we're going to be using the C major. And then notice how I have the pedal on, and just before I change chords, we're going to go to G next. I'm going to lift up on the pedal and then put it right back down. Then we'll go to A minor. And then we'll do F major. And then we're right back to C. So we're going to be using, again, C major with the root, the 5th, and then the root again. Then we're going to go down to G major. We're going to play the G, D, G. Then we're going to jump up to this A minor, A, E, C. Then we'll jump down to F major, F, C, F, and then right back to C. So it's a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression, probably one of the most common and used chord progressions in all kinds of music, especially pop music. So in the right hand, we're going to be playing this C. So again, here's middle C. The right hand will put the thumb on the C, and then the G up here with the pinky will be playing fifths. So as we're doing this, we'll be playing fifths with the right hand. Then we go down to that G, again, fifths. Then the A minor, same thing. F. And then C. So we'll be coming in, if you want to count the beats, it'll be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. That'll be the left hand. The right hand, we're going to come in on beats 1 and 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. So that's it. And I'm going to be using a metronome just to help me keep the pace, and I recommend you do as well. I have it at 70 beats per minute, so you can adjust this based on if it's too fast, too slow, whatever you want to do, you can adjust it. But this is 70 beats per minute, and this is the first exercise. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 1, 3, 1. That is the first one. Again, it's really going to get your hand moving. Your left hand movement is going to help develop that coordination in the left hand as well. Left hand we're going to be keeping pretty simple. That's the level 1 version of this. Level 2, left hand is going to be doing the exact same thing. So this kind of pattern going through the chords we've been using. But the right hand, instead of playing fifths, we're going to be using full chords. So we'll play C major, right? Then we'll go down to G, A minor, F major, back to C. And it's, again, very similar to the first one, except we're using full chords. We're adding in that middle finger in the right hand to play the third of the chord. So one more time with the metronome. Again, that was 70 beats per minute with the metronome. Very simple, right? Very simple to understand, but it's going to really help you build that coordination, again, specifically in that weak hand, in that left hand. It's also going to give you a lot of good practice with the pedal, right? So you want to make sure you're pedaling correctly. Notice how everything sounds smooth and connected. Right? What you don't want to hear is if you hold the pedal down for too long, then everything starts to kind of clash. Like I'm just holding the pedal. Right? Everything kind of clashes together, so you want to really make sure you're focusing on that lift at the right time. You want to lift at the right time, and then you do want to make sure you're using it so that it sounds connected, because if you don't use the pedal at all, or if you're lifting it too early, you're going to have those breaks within your playing, so it's going to sound like this. Right? We don't want those breaks, we want everything nice and connected. Level 3. So this level, we're going to change up the left hand slightly. Right hand will stay the exact same. Still going to come in on beats 1 and 3 with these same chords. That stays the same. Left hand, we're going to open it up even more. We're going to give the left hand more work to do. Okay, so instead of just playing root, fifth, root, we're going to add in the third. So we're going to be playing full arpeggios. And all an arpeggio is just broken chords, right? This is an arpeggio because we're just breaking up. We're playing one note at a time of a C major chord, right? This is C major. C, E, G played together at the same time is a block chord. If we break that up, we're arpeggiating. We're still using the same notes that make up the chord. We're just playing them at different times and breaking it up. So to add another layer to the left hand, we're going to add in the third. So we'll be playing C, E, G, C. And then the G, we're going to add in that B. A, adding in that C. F, adding in the A. Right? And so again, we're still going to come in on these 1 and 3 in the right hand, but we're going to have to count this a little bit differently. We're still going to be coming in on every single eighth note. So it'll be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Another thing too, that beat 4, we're going to be holding it a little bit longer. So we're playing all eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice how that last one, we're holding it down for a full beat instead of just an eighth note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. So a little bit different rhythm in the left hand. Again, we're adding in a different note as well, so it's going to be a little bit more complex as you go along. So with the metronome, it'll sound like this. I switched up the order of the chords there just to make it a little bit different. You don't have to do that. If you want to keep going with the C, G, A, F, that's fine too, but you can switch up the order of the chords as well just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique, right? So one more time. And that would be all of exercise 3. Again, that was at 70 beats per minute, so if that's too fast, if it's too slow, you can always adjust that. But I would recommend using the metronome just so you can really keep yourself accountable and make sure you're coming in at the right time, because if you don't use the metronome, it's very easy to come in a beat early or come in a beat late, and then your rhythm gets thrown off. So I would definitely recommend the metronome. And just working on those 3 levels, it would be great just to work on that maybe for the first minute or 2 of your practice routine, and you can always up the tempo as you get better with it, as your left hand becomes more coordinated in the process as well. Again, my name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano. If you like what I shared with you here today, of course, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I also have a free PDF on my website. Link is in the description below. It's going to give you 34 more tips to help you become a better piano player, especially if you are brand new to the piano. I am also offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with those, send me an email. Link is down below in the description.